Well, Peggy Fran has done it again. If I had a dime for every time that Peggy has pioneered something, yeah, I would be a happy man. I'm pretty happy otherwise, but I would be happier today on Zippy Point. I'm Brock Romanek. I'm a big fan of you. So Peggy and her team over at Prudential posted this ESG summary report on their corporate website earlier today, at the same time that Pru filed their proxy statement with the SEC. Some of the information in this 18-page summary report also resides in that proxy statement. I believe with this, Prudential becomes the first company to use a summary ESG report. It's pretty detailed, as you soon shall see, with lots of metrics and performance stats. I should mention that other companies have posted decks with metrics, with information that they use during their shareholder engagement, but it's not quite in this summary ESG report form. There's also companies that have filed additional soliciting material with the same kind of thing. Does that make sense? So before we dig into what's actually in this summary ESG report, let me share a few overarching thoughts. Why do something like this? If you watch the incredible shareholder engagement Vid-Guide that I posted back in early January with Peggy and Kier Gums and Sebastian Niles and Bob McCormick, it's a great Vid-Guide, you should check it out. Peggy mentioned that Prudential was thinking about doing something like this to assist the process that they have with shareholder engagement during the proxy season. Yeah, you need resources to produce such a thing, and Prudential has the horses for that, but you could also save time in the end, perhaps, because your engagement will go much faster if this kind of detailed information is out there in the public domain at a crunch time when you're really trying to get in the vote. I should also make a point about timing. You otherwise might share all this information in your traditional annual sustainability report, but that report likely isn't being put out right at the onset of collecting votes. It normally isn't ahead of your annual shareholders meeting. Usually it's put out later in the year, in the summer if you're a 1231 company, so it's after your annual meeting. So having the summary available to you right when your proxy is being filed can really help at a time when you need it for the purposes of soliciting votes. That's because the full-blown ESG report is not being used. It's not being coordinated for the purpose of bringing in the vote. That's not its purpose. So using a summary like Prudential has changes that equation. Of course, that perhaps limits the context of the content in the summary because you don't have all that other information that is in the full-blown report, but you do have that full-blown report to refer to if you're someone that wants to dig further and get more details. I also like the idea of just breaking out information separately into a summary by creating a second, much shorter document. It feels more inviting to read. It's more likely to get a wider readership than the full-blown ESG report. For example, if you receive two law firm memos on a hot topic, one is 12 pages long and the other is 3 pages long and gets right to the point, which one are you going to read? The summary mutual fund prospectus is a nice analog here. In the mutual fund world, there are two kinds of prospectuses, the statutory prospectus and the summary prospectus. The statutory prospectus is the traditional long form prospectus. The summary prospectus, like its name implies, it's just a few pages long and contains key information about the fund and its performance. The SEC's rules specifies the kind of information that must be included in both types of prospectuses. The same key information required in the summary prospectus is actually required to be in the beginning of the statutory prospectus. It gets folded in. So now you know as much about mutual fund prospectuses as I do. All right, let's cruise through this thing. Of course, we have a simple cover that's on page 1. Table of contents reveals 8 categories of information. The first category explains what's in this thing. The 4 bullets talk about the enhanced disclosure in 4 different areas. A paragraph indicating that this is a supplement to our full-blown sustainability report, which is on our website. Of course, look at our webpage with the other ESG information, and also look at our annual report and our proxy statement. There is a short forward-looking disclaimer at the bottom of this page. And then we go on to a discussion about the board of directors and the governance framework. There's a discussion about board diversity. 82% of Prudential's independent directors are diverse. There's some graphics about that. A paragraph or 2 about human capital management and the culture. And then we move on to a page about DEI. 50% of the leadership team is diverse. In 2018, the performance shares plan was modified for senior vice presidents and above in an effort to improve diversity. On the bottom of page 5 here, there are 3 bullets with goals to be obtained by the year 2023. These goals were set back in December in 2020. And then on page 5, there's 5 bullets that describe the actions that are going to be used to obtain those 2023 goals. On pages 7 and 8, there's a description and graphics with the actions that will be taken for Prudential's people, for Prudential's business, and then for society at large, these 3 graphics here. Then this next section is very powerful, inclusion and diversity by the numbers. On pages 9 through 11 here, we have a bunch of metrics, 5 categories of numbers: EO1 data, preliminary data, workforce composition information benchmarked against Prudential industry peers, Pru's workforce composition year over year for the last 2 years, the diversity of Pru's top leadership team, and then on this last chart, who has Pru been recruiting and hiring recently. And on the next page, we have pay equity, an important topic. This graphic shows the comparison between 2018 and 2020, how the Prudential performs in comparison between those years. Pages 13 and 14 have a description of the learning and talent development programs, the 5 initiatives that Pru is employing right now. And then as we move on to pages 16 and 17, we get into global employee engagement. The results of an employee survey are contained in this graphic at the bottom of the page. Then on the next page, the last 2 pages actually of this ESG summary report, it talks about environmental sustainability. There are 4 different charts: environmental reporting, responsible use of natural resources, resiliency, and then engagement and education. There's not really that much here, but Pru does include performance data on a couple of key environmental goals. This is really a remarkable achievement, something that Prudential perhaps can build on going forward. So once you try something like this and create it the first time, obviously takes much more effort than in future years, one step at a time. So by doing something like this, maybe in future years, it won't be so hard. You'll develop processes to capture the information, and you try it once and you see how shareholders react, what your other stakeholders, what do they think about it? And then maybe I'll make a video about you and your company. Anyways, let me know what you think.